I grew up in Sierra Vista, Arizona. Typical secular American family. There wasn't any community of any sort, so if there were Jews, they didn't know each other. So I started playing the saxophone in 5th grade. I played saxophone all through high school. I learned a ton of music theory. I was learning jazz. I was learning how to improvise. From there, I decided I wanted to go to music school. And so I auditioned for music school, where I went to the University of Texas at Austin. We were traveling to Monterey Jazz Festival, to different jazz festivals around America. I was able to play at the Jazz at Lincoln Center. We played in the Netherlands, we played in Switzerland, we played in France. I started working with music nonprofits and getting engaged with education, teaching the next generation of students music and helping them find their own passion. There were a lot of Jews in my department, in the music department, and they were like, you have to come with us to Chabad for a Shabbos meal. And I was like, what is Shabbat? Like, what is that? And they were like, you're a Jew, you have to know, you're coming with us. And that was my first ever Shabbat meal ever, and I was obsessed. I always loved this idea about keeping Shabbat, but it was never worked for me because I'm a musician, and all of my concerts are on Friday for school. How am I gonna do that? All of my gigs are on Saturday, Friday night. How do I do it? It was the beginning of COVID. Basically, COVID hit. All of our gigs for the next however many months were canceled. My identity as a musician was gone. I didn't know who I was. And I saw the music community crumble and the Jewish community come together. Then I found out that there's a bunch of people my age who grew up secular. There's seminaries that are for people like me, because I don't know how to read Hebrew, I don't know how to do any of this stuff. I said, if I worked so hard to be a musician and I lost my identity in just a split second, I need to do something that stays stable no matter what happens in the world. At least if everything disappeared, I would know that no matter what, that I was a Jew. I decided I'm going to seminary. I called Mrs. Cohen and I said, Mrs. Cohen, I'm coming to Machon L'Yahadus. You could come to Machon L'Yahadus and you could learn and also live life. And so I loved how Machon L'Yahadus would teach me how to integrate Yiddishkeit into my life. So when I first started learning, I just kept seeing like everything was like gibberish on the page, and then it would pop out where it says, you must use your talents for Hashem, and I would leave the room and I would be upset. I would be like crying or emotional and overwhelmed. I'm not using my talents for Hashem. We started learning the Gunim, and I felt like I already knew the songs. I remember the first niggin that we learned was Keliata, and I felt like I knew Keliata. Like I just knew it. Mrs. Cohen looked at me and said, are you playing your saxophone? And I said, no. Why would I play my saxophone? She was like, you must play your saxophone. And whenever I played the Jewish music, I just felt like I was getting a helping hand from Hashem. I just loved it. I loved the melodies, everything. It just felt pure. It just felt like me. It felt like the inside of me was coming out to the real world. I got called to play for the kinnis at the very end, when everyone was standing on their chairs, waving their napkins at the end of the kinnis, and we were playing. It was like a fire lit within me. I almost cried because I was like, I feel it, I feel this passion again, and I'm not doing anything else. This is what makes me feel so good. Like, this is me, this is who I am. And it wasn't too long after that, we were driving to the OL, and one of the girls said, if you look at the video on the inside, it's like the Rebbe's talking to you. And of course, I sort of laughed. And I walked inside, and it was the Rebbe saying, you have to use your talents for Hashem. And for the first time, instead of crying, I smiled. It was like I did, and I'm going to.